Hello, VPA Media Music students. This is Ian here, and happy Sunday, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there in the world. Today's going to be a lot of fun. So today's going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past, but today is the final step of getting these two tracks we've been looking at out into the world. So for the last 2 weeks, we've looked at two different cues for the film Memento or Bust, and we've talked about how they were produced, how they were composed, how we mixed and mastered them and prepared them for digital distribution. Well, today is the actual digital distribution day. So, we're not going to look at logic. All we're going to do today is move some data around, move some assets around, and move some files. So, to get started, whenever you are getting ready to prepare an album for distribution, I would suggest you just make a OST folder. The reason why I suggest this is when you're working on a project, you can end up with gigantic amounts of folders. So for example, this is my project folder for this film. And granted, it's a teeny bit unorganized. That's partially because it's a 48-hour film challenge and we're going very, very fast. But you get the point. When you work quickly, you generate lots of files, you're creating lots of things, and most of the stuff we actually don't need once the film is delivered. So all we want is our final master track. So this track right here, this is not what it'll be named when it goes out into the world, but this is an internal name. This track right here is our final mix and master that we created a couple videos ago. This track right here is Roland's track, and this is his final mix and master, which we created in the last video. Then here we have some artwork we've prepared, and I will actually show you the gist of how you make an album artwork. So, for me, it's mostly, for these projects, it's a one-man show for the most part, unless I have a co-composer like Roland. And on these, I make all the art for all my albums that go out on Spotify. So, if we take a look at Spotify here, this is an absolutely fantastic score by James Newton Howard. Highly recommend it. All the art here, except for Bike and Builder, was made by yours truly. And I don't consider myself an artist, but, let me rephrase that. You're actually taking art from the film and conforming it to be a soundtrack album. So, you're just adding some text and stuff. Pretty simple stuff. So, quick side note, you might notice that on my Mac, I can snap windows very quickly. That is because I used to be a longtime Windows user, and I prefer how Windows is very snappy. So in order to enable this, you can download a really cool app called Spectacle, and Spectacle will let you move the windows all over the place. And it's extremely useful when you look at files all day like I do. So back to preparing your assets for Memento, preparing your assets for digital distribution. So I use a service called Distrokid. So before we get into Distrokid, we want to make sure we have all of our assets ready. So this is my master track, this is Roland's master track, and this is the artwork we have. So we're going to take a look at the artwork real fast. So in order to make album artwork, if you aren't provided with any artwork by the filmmakers, the easiest way to do this is to take a screenshot of the film. So you just take a screenshot. If you have a Mac, you can press Command-Shift-3 and you can take a screenshot. This is also known as a hero image in the industry. And you take a hero image, you import it into a photo editor. My photo editor of choice is Affinity Photo. I don't use any more Adobe products. I think their business model is ridiculous, but that's a whole other conversation. So no more Adobe. Affinity's better anyways. It's easier to use and it runs better on Mac. So I use this photo editing program called Affinity Photo. You take a screenshot of the image, and you might notice here on my screen it looks a little bit blurry, and that's okay because you have to remember that on Spotify the album is going to be very, very small. So if it looks a little bit blurry when it's high res, that's okay because by the time people look at it, it's going to look more like this. So what we have going on here is very simple. So basically, you take a screenshot. Here are our screenshots. So these screenshots are just taken right from the film. So you open the video file in QuickTime and you just capture it. So we decided to go with this one. So all you would do is you would open that with Affinity Photo. And now your photo's in here. And think of a photo editing program just like a DAW. you have all your tracks, you have your effects, you have your plugins, same basic idea. So this is a wide image. To prepare it for Distrokid, you need to have it be a square image. So Distrokid likes 1000 by 1000. So what you want to do is you want to crop your image first. So I'm trying to recreate what I made here. So you're going to crop your image. Now this is album size. Then you are going to basically adjust the photo with a variety of layers. So think of layers just like tracks in a DAW, and each one of these layers, just like tracks in a DOM, is a component that is augmenting this original picture. So the first thing you want to do, I suggest, is you want your image to be bright. The reason why is most people consume media on cell phones and tablets, mobile devices, and to save battery life, oftentimes screens are turned down a little bit dark. So first thing you want to do is make it a little bit brighter. Second thing you want to do is make it even brighter. So just slowly kind of enhancing things, and just like a DOM, there's all kinds of things you can change here. And you don't want to get too complicated. You just want it to look good when people look at your Spotify page. So then the next thing you want to do is add your text. You want to make sure you spell your filmmaker's name correctly. And a little note about text. This is a great suggestion made by my roommate, is you want to use what's called sans serif text. So you don't want text that has serifs. So what I mean by that, serif text has it's like Times New Roman. So you have these little serif things on the letters, and the reason why you don't want to do that is because when the image gets really small, it blurs the text. So you want to use something really simple. I just decided to go with black and white. That's kind of what the filmmakers are using for their promotional materials, so I thought we'd just add that ourselves. Contrast is good. And I like the credit original music by. The reason why I like that credit is because lots of times films have songs licensed in them and other pieces of incidental music, and I find that if you just designate that you wrote the original music, people understand much quicker what your contribution was to the film. And so once again, when you type in text into a photo editor, you want to double check all the spelling, and then you're ready to go. And then Distrokid prefers JPEGs, so you will export a JPEG, and 1080 by 1080 is a square image, and it's going to work great. So in a very quick summary, that's how you put together a album cover, for your music, and it's actually quite fun. I find that photo editing, even though I'm very amateur at it, is actually quite relaxing. I think it's kind of relaxing in the way that music used to be. So that's good. So now that we have our artwork prepared, we have all of our assets, we are actually going to go into a Google Sheet. And Google Sheets are a big part of post-production. You really can't get away from them. So this here, what we're looking at, is my tracks database of music that's being released. So if we take a look again at my Spotify page, we will see that, The Brink was the first release of the year. The Brink was planned out to be the first release of the year here. And basically, all of this track stuff is all metadata for these tracks. So basically what you're looking at here is the metadata for all of the tracks here on my Spotify page. The reason why you want to prepare this beforehand is because when you upload to Distrokid, you'll see in 1 second, there's basically a form you need to fill out for the album. So if you kind of do some pre-planning and you write it out here, it makes this part go much faster, which you'll see in about 10 minutes. So just to give you an idea, so this year the first release was The Brink. The Brink is the first release. Then we did Wonder. Wonder's right here. So the point is if you just put some thought and planning into your catalog, it will go out into the world much better. You'll avoid spelling mistakes, hopefully avoid putting the wrong artwork out, and it just makes for a better overall experience. So the colors here, I like color coding. What's going on here is green means the track is released, yellow means it's in progress to be released, and white means it's something we're just thinking about. So Far From Ordinary will actually come out tonight at 12 a.m. Or tomorrow at 12 a.m. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be very fun. So and it's great just to keep some notes about where your tracks are at. So we have our database here. What we're going to do now is we're going to add some rows for our assets right here. So for these guys, I actually made a couple notes here in Apple Notes that we can take from. So this is basically in a nutshell what we're releasing. So we're going to add this to our tracks database, a Google Sheet tip. If you're on a Mac, if you hold Control Option and then you do I and B, you can add rows below. I and R, add rows above. So if you learn those key commands like any other key command, you will really speed up your workflow. So what we need here is we need 2 lines, and this is for the film Memento or Bust. So this is going to be our 6th release of the year. And sorry about the mic moving. This is going to be the 6th release of the year, and the album is going to be called Memento or Bust Original Soundtrack Album. And there's going to be 2 tracks. And we are going to rename the track. So the first track is going to be called Score Suite. Sorry for the pauses. Talking and typing is a skill that I am still working on developing. If it ever gets developed, I don't know. But that's okay. So just bear with me while I do this. So Memento or Bust. Roland's track is Apparition Bruisers. Okay, so these tracks are ready, and if you're on a Mac, you can just Command C, copy paste the name, and paste it right on over. Except you want to make sure you do it in the right order. That was not in the right order. That's okay. Let me double check that I'm spelling Roland's name correctly. B-I-G. It's always good to double check, because once you upload a track into Distrokid, it's out there forever. So the only way to my knowledge, to edit a track is to take the album down and then re-upload it. So, which is doable, but kind of a pain because you have to redo this whole process. So we're going to be better this time. We're actually going to fill out all the information. So this track is 0503. For my students on the Mac, to see any information on a file on a Mac, you just press Command I, and you can see all of the metadata put into the track. So this track is and then we're going to take the album artwork. So you can see we made a variety of versions. We decided to go with this one. I think this one works best because it's bright. It matches some of the other key art that's been made for the film, and it I think it kind of gives off a vibe about the film that's good, and it's just simple. I think simple works better in most cases. So all of my files are always 24-bit 48K. My theory is, I know some people like 441, and 441 is technically what you produce albums with, but my theory is that all musicians should create their music as if it'll end up in media content at some point. Even if you're a songwriter, I think there's enough storage on computers these days to do 48K 24-bit. Yeah, it doesn't really sound much better than 441, but it makes all of your music ready for a music editor to put into a film without having to convert files. So that's my little spiel on 48K. And also, if you think about it, your music should just be ready to go into film, even if you aren't a film composer, because that's a way to generate a lot of revenue, in my opinion. So, in theory, that industry constantly changes. So, we'll see. So, we're going to release this album, let's see, a week from now. Yeah, let's do it a week from now. So we'll pick a day. We'll add the day when we're in Distrokid. And normally you should wait about 4 weeks, but it's just 2 tracks. I'm not too worried about it. So sometimes if you wait a little bit longer, it gets your track playlisted more. But for instrumental music like this, it's just kind of a numbers game, in my opinion. So just getting the music out there is worth it. And it helps me teach this lesson. So okay, so we have our data prepared here. Now we're going to go into Distrokid, and we're going to upload our music. So first, we're going to double check that we have the right files, because it's always good to double check your work. So you're checking the file, you're making sure there's no clicks or pops or weird things that can happen when you bounce, and we're good. So these files are ready to go into Distrokid. So with Distrokid, you want to follow the instructions. It's better to go slow and take your time. So to make your life easy, I would suggest you just select all of them. We're going to do 2 songs. This album has never been released. Let's release this on Friday the 22nd. So I think Friday is often considered a music release day now. In the old days of CDs and tapes, it used to be Tuesdays. Now it seems like Friday is when lots of music comes out. So we're going to have this come out on the 22nd. Yeah, let's just do it. 22nd. All right, 22nd, this album will come out. It's going to give us a little warning that, you should have 4 weeks or whatever, but I think 1 week is fine. It's just a couple singles. 12 a.m. So what you're seeing here is basically Distrokid's interface for getting your music out into the world. My record label is Solify Music, as is my company name. Remember that artwork we created right here? We're going to drag it right into there. And you can see how it looks kind of blurry when it's zoomed in on the Mac, but when it's conformed to the spec, it looks good. We're going to make this, it's only 2 tracks, so whatever, we'll do that. And now here comes the part where we wrote everything out, right? So we wrote everything out, and what this does is we can double check it here, we can check for spelling, we can do all kinds of things. So, and you can just copy paste your data right from your database into here. And the reason why this is helpful, let's say you decided to leave Distrokid for whatever reason, you decide it's not the right platform for you. If you wanted to go over into another distribution service like CD Baby, or if you wanted just to upload your music directly into Spotify or Tidal or Google Play, etc., you could just take your spreadsheet and all your data is there. So that is why I recommend that you put all your information into a database and then you copy it over into the website. Okay, English. And this is the interesting part. So the first one's going to be soundtrack. And then I would recommend you do the secondary genre as what the music sounds like. So to me, this is definitely electronic music. This is where it gets more interesting. You might consider adding, I don't know. I would say this is kind of like electronica down tempo. So to review, we're onboarding our track. We've selected where the track will be going. We've selected the number of songs. This album has not been released anywhere else. We're selecting the artist band name. We're going to add Roland's name. And this is why you want to type it out first. So you can just copy and paste and not worry about it. We want to let people pre-order it. I'm sure there's going to be lots of people interested in this. So we'll see about that. But listeners' time zone, this means the music gets released where the people live. So if you're in New York at 12 a.m., it gets released there. If you're in California, it gets released here at 12 a.m. So it seems to work okay. Pre-order start date will be tomorrow. And we're going to change this to original motion picture so it doesn't get mad at us. Okay. Double check the spelling again, because once you upload this, it's permanent unless you want to take the whole album down. So now we're going to look at our database. Track 1 is going to be the score suite. So we're just going to copy and delete what we don't need. Don't need the numbers because Spotify and Google and iTunes will add the numbers for you. Now we're going to add our audio. So this is why we make a dedicated folder for our onboarding. It makes this go much faster. I'm going to put track 1 here. You're going to confirm that you wrote this track. For me, my BMI and all my music stuff is registered under my full name. There's no lyrics. No instrumental and contains no lyrics. I just let the streaming services decide, and I figure since no one's going to buy this anyways, you might as well make it the cheapest price possible. Then we're going to copy paste our track 2 info. We're going to delete what we don't need. And then we're going to take Roland's track and add it to Distrokid here. Then we're going to do the same thing we did for my track. We're going to confirm that Roland wrote the song. There's no lyrics. There's not a radio edit. Instrumental. Let the streaming services decide. We're going to let it be added to Instagram. For this album, we are not going to opt for the store maximizer. We're not going to opt for Shazam and Siri support. And we are not going to go for the legacy. So this is the one thing that makes Distrokid a little bit different. So some of the other services are all inclusive and you pay per album. Distrokid, you pay a yearly subscription fee and you can upload as much as you want. But if you want some of these other features, you do need to pay for them. And I do have above the basic account. I have the label account, I believe. So I can have up to 5 artists on my account. But basically the point is I use Distrokid because for media music, it is a volume game, right? So we do lots of scores. You get paid on the scores. You get paid per project. And this stuff is more about self-promotion. So for me, it's cheaper to just pay the yearly fee of Distrokid and make a little bit off whatever streams may or may not happen than it is to pay per album. If you're an artist, maybe a model like CD Baby, if you're a songwriting artist, a model like CD Baby might make more sense. So you don't need to pay a yearly subscription fee. You just pay for every time you make an album. So those are just some quick thoughts on the platforms. So now that we've uploaded our tracks, we're going to double check everything in 1 second. We're going to give them permission to add it to YouTube Music. You're going to confirm that you recorded this music and that you own it. We're not using any other artist name besides the people involved. And we have agreed to Distrokid's distribution. This is almost ready to be onboarded. I told you today would be kind of a quick class, but I thought it'd be cool for you to see this and see what the professional account looks like without you having to buy it. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to double check everything we entered here. So we're going to let these tracks go to all of these different platforms. We have 2 tracks. We have our artist band name. It's just mine and Roland's name. Then these are going to appear under other releases with my name. We've confirmed that our release date is going to be Friday, May 22nd. The album will come out at 12 a.m. It'll come out in the listener's time zone. And we have opted to let people pre-order it. And the pre-order start date is tomorrow, Monday, May 11th. Our record label is Solar Flare Music, which is my company name. And the album title is Memento or Bust, Original Motion Picture Soundtrack. The price is $6.99, as are all of my albums. And the language is English. The genre is soundtrack. The subgenre is electronic music and electronica downtempo. I think this is actually pretty accurate. Because at least for the score suite, it's like 80 BPM, so it's a little bit of a lower tempo. And then we have our track title, which we copied right from our database here. Score suite. We chose our files. From here, from our Memento or Bust OST folder. That's ready to go. We confirmed that we wrote the song. We confirmed our songwriter name. There's no lyrics, not a radio edit. Everything looks good. Song 2. Same thing. All the assets are in the right place. We added Roland's name because he wrote this track. Same thing. There's no lyrics, instrumental. let the streaming service decide where the track starts. For the preview, a preview is when you hear a little snippet of the track, and the price is 69 cents for both of them. All right, so this all looks good. Everything looks set. We spelled Roland's name right, which I triple checked because cool last name. And we're done. So this is ready for distribution. Now it's going to upload, and on the 22nd of May, this will be on Spotify and Google and all the other services. So I'm sorry if today wasn't more interesting, but this is a really important part of creating music. We're going to log our release date in here. So, and I really encourage you, everyone can develop their own system, but I will give you guys this template, and it's really helpful just to keep track of your tracks. And since Far From Ordinary comes out tomorrow morning at 12, we are going to consider this release. So this will be out tomorrow. So when a track is finished, we change our color to green, and we are done with those files for now. Okay, great. So once all the tracks are updated, it's going to give you this page, and it'll be live on May 22nd. So it suggests that you do it 4 weeks in the future. If this was a big album you put a year or two of time into and you had lots of performers, I would suggest you follow that rule. But if it's just another soundtrack going out into the world, you just want to get it out. So it's pretty cool. You can actually add a whole nother layer of metadata, which is very cool. So we'll save that for another day. We're going to edit our team though, and we are going to add Roland here as a team member. And let me pull up Roland's email address here, and we will take care of this right now. So it's very important when you collaborate with people that they get their credit. And since Roland wrote this whole track, he's going to get 100% of it. Okay. So as you can see here, by doing that, we were each getting 100% for each of our contributions. And then when people buy the whole album, we will split it 50-50. So I think that's the fairest way to do it. So obviously, because Roland created that content, I did not. So that's the way it should be done. So, I think lots of people might feel that, because you're the producer getting it out there, that you should get a cut. But on this one, this is more than fair. All right, great. So I think this is all set. So this will come out on May 22nd. Keep an eye out for it, and I'll send you guys a link to it. And thank you for checking it out. And if we look here, I'm looking at my other screen, I just got an email that all of our artwork was processed successfully. So you will continue to get emails from Distrokid once you upload, and it keeps going and going, and it guides you through the whole process. It's a great service, and I really enjoy using them. So that is actually going to be it for today. So I appreciate you guys taking a look at this. So the main takeaway from today is that when you're preparing your music for distribution, you want to create a database of all your tracks. This kind of helps you plan ahead of time and keep track of what's going on while you're still creating other music. You want to make a dedicated folder for the original soundtrack, and you want this folder to contain everything you need to get the track uploaded and distributed through a service like Distrokid. So what you need in this folder is you need your final mixes that are mastered and ready and loudness compliant. Then you need a piece of artwork that you think represents the film best. And to make the artwork, you can request it from the filmmaker, or if you If it is not available, you can make your own artwork by taking what's called a hero image, which is just a still from the film, as you can see here on the screen. You take a hero image, you open it in a program like Affinity Photo, and you work on adding text and making it look more like this. And then you get it ready to Distrokid spec. So that is music distribution in a nutshell in the digital era. And I highly encourage all of you who are interested to do it yourself and to reap the rewards of distributing your own music and learning that skill set. So thank you for watching, guys. I'll send you my students a follow-up email with all this stuff, and I appreciate it. And once again, happy Mother's Day, and I hope all of you have a great day. Stay safe out there. Cheers.